soon as I get home.
My name is Brenda Edwards, and welcome to the Greater New Hope Experience.
My name is Deja, and I would like to wish Bernice Boyd a happy Father's Day. Dad, I love you, I miss you, and I hope that I'm down here making you proud. Keep watching over me and my siblings. Happy Father's Day.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Simrel, and I want to give a shout out for my father, William Miller, who was the father and head of household of 12 beautiful children, and there are 10 of us living now, and he was a hard worker, and we all loved him so very much. I also want to give a shout out to my husband, my dearly beloved Chairman Garland Simrel, who I love so dearly. He is definitely a father who always gives good advice to everyone he meets. He's a provider, and definitely he gives wisdom out to us. And definitely the father of my children, Amber and Garland Simrel. So I just want to wish him a happy Father's Day, and I love you so much. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to all of the fathers across the world, but especially to the men of Greater New Hope Baptist Church, from Pastor, and I love you. Father's Day for me is a little different because I grew up with 3 dads. I grew up in a home with David Edwards, and so happy Father's Day. The last name that I have is from Eric McMichael Sr., so Lavelle McMichael comes from him, and then my biological father is Ronald Lamont Harris, and so I am the son of Ronald Lamont Harris, but I had the privilege, now I know I had the privilege, I don't know that I looked at it that way back then, but of having 3 dads, and they gave me 3 different qualities that I feel like I embody all of. You know, I was thinking David, he taught me how to drive. I was thinking Eric McMichael Sr. taught me how to invest in property and make sure that I had a strong work ethic. And then my dad taught me how to love unconditionally, Ronald Harris. And so I thank God for those dads, but more importantly, I thank God for Henry Schley, my mom's father, who was that grandfather/father, and he is the one who made sure that I had a strong work ethic, that I knew the importance of having integrity as a man, and he gave me the butt whoopings that helped to steer me in the right direction when I was on the path that would lead me astray. So I definitely want to say happy Father's Day to my grandfather, Henry Schley. He's 90. He's yet with us, and so I salute you, sir. And I thank God for the opportunity to be able to celebrate fathers. You know, many times fathers are underestimated, overlooked, and underappreciated. But this is an opportunity today that we're able to honor the men for the seed that they have that gives life, and for the role that they play in humanity. And so for that, I salute all of the men all across the world, and I say happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to my Ace Coon, Lavelle Michael Sr. I thank you so much for raising us to be young and powerful black men. I thank you for raising me to fear God. I thank you for raising me to know how to treat women. I thank you for the experiences and the things that we have been through. Thank you for taking me and my brother off the game for a week so that we have time to better ourselves and to be great. Thank you for always believing in me and always wanting me to do my best. I want you to enjoy your day, and I wish you many, many more happy Father's Day.
Hello, my name is Logan McMichael, and I would like to say happy Father's Day to my dad, Lavelle. I just want to start off. He helps us do everything, like cleaning house, he helps us. Organizing, he helps us. He doesn't make us do it all by ourselves. He always helps us in everything. So I just want to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for being the kind of guy he is. Happy Father's Day.
All right, my name's Garland Jr. My dad is Garland Sr. And there's a lot I could say about my dad. There's so many words that I could say, but he's a great man. I'm truly blessed to have him as a father. And now he's a grandfather now, so all the things that he's taught me, man, I can be a good dad now. But I love that guy, man. I don't really know what to say, but yeah, I love that guy. He's been a good blessing. So happy Father's Day, Dad.
I'm Jay Malachi. This is Jayla Dunlap. We would just like to say Happy Father's Day to Christopher Dunlap. We appreciate all that you do and we love you. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers and father figures all over the world. From my heart to yours, we celebrate you today and always. It doesn't take a special day to celebrate who you are in our communities, in our homes, in our churches, and who you continue to stand firm and be. A special shout out to my father, Raymond Williams, all the way in Philadelphia. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Thank you for all of the meals growing up and now. Thank you for the times that you juiced onions so that Tish and I wouldn't be sick. Thank you for the times when you boiled sassafras tea and you took us and held us on your shoulders and on your back. Thank you for those special moments when you and I would go to the March of Dimes and we would walk together and drink ginseng just to make it through those 10 miles. Thank you for all that you are and all that you continue to be. You often say that you never thought you would have children because you never thought you would make it home from the Vietnam War. And yet, God has blessed you to have children and daughters that celebrate you. You have been blessed with grandchildren that celebrate you. And it doesn't take a special day to tell you how much we love you, how much we care about you. Thank you for being a praying father. Thank you for a father that was always in the home and was present and showed up to our special moments. We celebrate you today, and I celebrate you. Thank you for the long talks. Thank you for the prayers. Thank you for being stern with me. I love you and I appreciate you. No matter where I go in the world, you will always be my father. You will always be the one who stood in the gap for my sister and I and for our entire family. And of course, happy Father's Day to my wonderful husband, the king of our household. Thank you for being a presence. Thank you for engaging with our sons. Thank you for showing up to their games. They don't have to look for a role model in television, and while they might admire some folks, they can admire the dad that's right in their home and that's present. And so, babe, I love you. I thank you for being a wonderful husband, a wonderful father, a wonderful pastor, a wonderful leader, a wonderful advocate, a wonderful activist. Thank you for all that you do for all of us. Happy Father's Day. And last but not least, of course, all the Greater New Hope fathers, but especially there are two special father figures that stand in the gap every week through virtual services. Yes, Pastor Freeman and Deacon Cardo Grant. We thank you for all that you are, in your humility, for doing the things that you do, for being the creative geniuses behind our weekly services. Thank you for being men in the home and men of God. Thank you for all that you do. Happy Father's Day. I love you from my heart to yours. May you have the best day ever. May you be celebrated as the kings that you are and the leads of your household. I love you.
I just want to say Happy Father's Day to my father, Arthur James Hope Jr. Dad, I love you. I thank you for always being a great provider, always providing whatever we needed. Also, I want as well, because I know you got me what I wanted. Before I turned 16, you had me a car. It wasn't an old car, it was a nice car. And I always thank you for everything that you've ever done for us. You made sure that we were in school. We didn't bring any grades home below a B. If we did, you know, we was in trouble. You didn't play about our education. You always made sure that we worked and knew how to provide for ourselves. even though you provided for us. And I just want to say thank you for everything. Happy Father's Day, and I love you.
My name is Jarquez Boyd, and happy Father's Day to my daddy, Bernice Boyd. A special memory that I'll always hold on to is celebrating my birthday with my dad. Our birthdays are 5 days apart, and so we will always celebrate or do something together for our birthdays. And so, Dad, I'll miss our birthday celebrations, but I know that you're looking over us, and I love you and I miss you. Happy Father's Day.
Hello, I'm Samaria, and I'm doing a Father's Day tribute to my dad, Samuel Hairston. Thank you for being the best dad ever, regardless of what we do. You're always there. Happy Father's Day.
My name is Samuel Hairston. Happy birthday to my dad, also named Samuel Hairston. My proudest moment with my dad was when I had to go to summer school to go to the next grade. He was the only person that could be Christian, so I didn't grade level that he knew he could go to.
My name is Tiana Boyd. Happy Father's Day to my dad, Ernest. Thank you for all the memories and times that we shared together. You're gone but never forgotten. I will forever hold you. I love you. Happy Father's Day.
My name is Anthony Edwards. Happy Father's Day to Michael Edwards. I love you and thank you for all you do for me. Happy Father's Day.
Hello, my name is Serenity Barnes. Happy Father's Day to Samuel Harrison. Thank you for taking care of me for all these years, and I really appreciate you. I love you and happy Father's Day.
Hi, I'm Tracy Grant, and I would like to say Happy Father's Day to my dad, Clarence Williams. I love my dad very much. I want to let him know that I appreciate him, and I'm so thankful that we've been able to spend time with each other these past years. We've been going on vacations together, and I'm creating such great memories. And Dad, I want to say I love you, I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy Father's Day. Now I want to say Happy Father's Day to my husband, Cardo Grant. He's been a wonderful husband, an awesome dad, and I admire his leadership as being a husband and a dad. I'm so thankful for him. I love how he likes to show his kids and myself, show us everything about vacationing, telling us about history, and just being the most dedicated dad, most committed. He's really loving. He loves his kids, and he wants the best for his kids. And honey, I want to say thank you. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy Father's Day. I love you.
Hi, my name is Cardo Grant Jr., also known as CJ, and I would like to wish my dad, Cardo Sr., a happy Father's Day. I want to thank you, Dad, for just showing me different things in life, just showing me how to be a man, especially a black man in America today. I want to thank you for all the love, passion, and affection you've shown me in my 20 years on this earth. I've always admired you, admired your worth ethic. I've always admired how active you are in the church and how active you are in my life, as well as my sister's life as well. Some of my greatest and fondest memories of my dad is whenever we go to vacation for his birthdays. We always have a great time going to the water, going way out, far into the beach. So I want to say just thank you and enjoy your day.
My name is Cardo Grant, and I was so lucky and fortunate, and I've always known this, to be raised by two amazing dads and to have my grandfather as well in my life. So happy Father's Day to my dad, Jeremiah Grant, and Rupert Brown, who have raised me to be the man that I am today. And of course to my grandfather, Alfonso Saunders, who these guys have taught me so much, and I am a direct result of the hours of nurturing and support and love and just a wonderful upbringing. I have so many memories, so many fond memories with my dads and my grandfather. I remember as a little boy in Jamaica. It was awesome living in Jamaica as a little boy. My dad, I would sit on his lap, my dad, and we would drive around, and he would let me change the gears, and I was just a little baby. I was not a little baby, but just a young boy. And to me, that was exciting because the steering wheel seemed so big, and I would have to try to turn the steering wheel and change the gears, and it seemed like at least I felt that I was doing it all by myself, but obviously he was helping me. I used to enjoy that as much, and I remember with my stepdad growing up as well. I didn't appreciate it then, but now I do. After school, every day after school, before we did anything, homework or anything, we had to spend time with him. And sometimes our friends would drop us off, and Dad would be outside waiting for us. And we would try to hide, but he would call us, and we just didn't appreciate it. But he was the first person we had to spend time with, doing stuff around the house, just talking and showing us new things. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. And my grandfather just taught me so much about just being a man. He was a very distinguished man. How to, position myself. We often spend birthdays together because his birthday was July the 8th, I'm July the 9th. So for us, that was a big thing. He would always say to me, "Grandson, no bird could fly on one wing." That just simply means that I need you, you need me.
Morning and happy Father's Day. This is the day that the Lord hath made, and we're rejoicing and glad in it. And we're excited to come to you again live from the Greater New Hope Baptist Church virtual experience. And I need you to do me a favor before we get started. I need you to like and share this post on your personal page. There is somebody that's watching this morning that needs to be encouraged, that needs to be uplifted, that needs to be told that he has done a great job, that he has time to continue to do great in the life of his children. And we want to say happy Father's Day to all of the fathers all across the world from the Greater New Hope Baptist Church here in the city of High Point. I'm representing Philadelphia today. Deacon Grant is representing Jamaica. And we are so privileged to have Dr. Golson all the way from the city of Baltimore. And he will be joining us in this conversation this morning as we uplift, as we affirm, as we say happy Father's Day to our fathers. So we want to go right into this discussion, and Dr. Golson, we've been able to just brief with you a little bit about what we've been talking about, but we wanted to continue this conversation because for so long, Father's Day has been under-commercialized, it has been overlooked, and in fact, many fathers that are sitting at home may not even hear from their sons and daughters. And we want to encourage those of you who are contemplating, what am I going to do today for Father's Day? We want you to have the courage to pick up the phone. We want you to have the courage to tell your dad you love them. You love him, And, Deacon Grant, I'm going to start with you because we started talking this morning earlier in our first broadcast about love. And somebody may say, well, I don't love him. How can I call and say I love him? And could you just explain to us what you talked about this morning about love?
Sure. Again, welcome to my cousin there, Dr. Golson, as we have this conversation about fathers. Um, what I tried to explain this morning was that first of all, today is Father's Day, and it's a good opportunity for you and for anyone who has been removed from their father for whatever the reason might be. It will be a good opportunity for you to pick up the phone today and to simply call him, because we believe that in doing so you show love. And like you said, you might be saying to yourself, well, I don't really love my father. Well, that's okay. Remove father from the word, from the conversation for a second, and says he's my neighbor. And the Bible commands that we ought to love our neighbor. So start there. Treat him as a neighbor and move from there to hopefully you could foster a relationship with him. But we believe that an individual just cannot be whole if he or she chooses not to have a relationship. If that parent is alive, you will not be complete if you choose not to try to develop a relationship with that parent, because then you pass that legacy on from generation to generation.
So we have our moderators here, and we're gonna put this scripture here, and then I'm going to Dr. Golson, that 1 John chapter 4 verses 18 through 21 tells us that we are to love one because he first loved us. But then it goes on to say that perfect love casts out fear. And how can we say we love him whom we have never seen and do not love the ones that we see from day to day? And that is what we're talking about. When we talk about that love, when we talk about fear, one of the things that I've said, and I'll say it again, is that if you are fearful of disappointment, if you're fearful of hurt, if you're fearful of rejection, then you are not able to function in the true essence of what love, biblical love, it tells us to do. And so we have to be able to step on our fears, step over disappointment in order to appreciate the true love, the unconditional, the agape love of Christ toward us that we are then to give to other people. And that person today we're talking about is father. That does not mean you don't love your mother. We are not against mothers. That is not what this discussion is about. But we are for fathers being respected, being loved for who they are, if nothing else, for the seed that they have given us of our lives. And that is so important for us as a body, and it is important that we look at it from this perspective. We teach love. We teach loving a God who we've never seen. How can we express love to a God that we've never seen, and then we don't see that love demonstrated in our natural lives? That becomes the disconnect between our personal relationship with God and our personal relationship with our Father. And we don't want to reject ourselves by rejecting our fathers. And I'll say this, it's not for those under 18 to do this work. Maybe 16, 17, 18 can do a little bit of what we're saying, but we understand that young people, children in particular, cannot do this work. We're talking to an older audience. We're talking to those whom may be adults. We're talking to those who are at a conscious age of maturity to understand that there is something you can do to push your father relationship along with yourself. So Dr. Golson, I know you are an expert at many things, have traveled extensively across this country, you know different cultures. And so tell me, why do you feel Father's Day is overlooked, underappreciated? Why are fathers not given the same respect and love as mothers?
Thank you, Pastor, and happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Hope you have a wonderful day. Now, there are certain historical valence to how we treat fathers as a society, how we view fathers. And, for a very long time, in fact, this discussion and most of the literature, the early sociological literature, both in this country and in the Caribbean, reflect the idea that fathers are basically absent from the household. Now, the reason they're absent are multiple and varied, and we get into some of that eventually. But there was this idea that the burden was placed on women, on mothers, to raise the family, to raise the kids, because dad wasn't around. Deadbeat dad. We have that kind of stereotype and language out there. And so there's more of an appreciation in the public domain, in the public sphere, for mothers as opposed to fathers. Perhaps, and yes, in some cases, fathers were just not there. Fathers did not care. And so, we just went along with the narrative without even trying to raise the bar, or to look more carefully at fathers who are actually there and fathers who are actually doing well and celebrate those. So I think that's some of what fed into and continue to feed into this kind of, overlooking of father and fatherhood in this country, in the Caribbean.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. And this morning we talked about deadbeat dads. And is that something that we've adopted? Is that something that's true? And can we say he doesn't have concern? Unless he tells us that, we really don't know. But like you said, we brought into that narrative or stereotype. Go ahead, Deacon. I see.
Yeah. And I wanted to say what Randy said. Just remind me of a study I read. It was a 2013 study of all places done by the Center of Disease and Prevention Control that says that although African American men are less likely to be married, they are more likely to be involved in their children's lives than any other people group, more than whites and more than Hispanics. But that conversation, for some reason, gets lost in all this. It's like I don't hear those conversations. I'm more likely to hear what Dr. Golson said about, the deadbeat dad idea, or, Papa's a Rolling Stone. No one talks about these dads who are working multiple jobs to send their children to school and to provide for their household. And I'm curious if maybe we could talk about why that conversation is not up front.
I think the answer to that, and this will take us into another part of the discussion, is positive framing. As a people, as a nation, we buy into negative. Somebody could say you look nice, and we reject it. Somebody could say, "Oh, you're such a good dad." "Oh, I'm doing the best that I can." We don't even know how to say thank you. We don't even know how to walk in pride that I am a good dad. I am a good husband. I am a good pastor. I am a good student. I am you could get a 4.0 and it's like, oh my God, congratulations, you got a 4.0. And it's like, oh, if you only knew the work. We as a society need to be deprogrammed from negative ways of accepting what is good. And we have to reject the notion that things have to be bad in order for them to be productive. And we have to be okay with being great. And I believe that that's something that we have to instill into our children. We have to instill into our families, our churches, more specifically, because this is why the church is not working together in harmony, universal. This is why families are divided. And I watched my grandfather, I watched my fathers hold families together. That's what I know. Okay, it's some negative in there if you want to talk about that, but let's talk about what I saw. I saw men holding people together that probably were likely to be divided if he wasn't the glue. So I think that we have to change the negative. What is that? What is that negative piece? It's an intrinsic thing that just rejects. I see you, Dr. Golson. You just go ahead, talk to me.
No, I was just reflecting as you're talking about, a concept I read from a wonderful scholar, Imani Perry, on racial narratives and stereotypes, and how the media really project some of these negative images of Black people. And that brought me back to the 1965 study commissioned by President Johnson in this country, the Moynihan Report, that in part talked about the Negro family. Well, not in part, but a lot. One entire chapter was devoted to the Negro family. And one of the things that they emphasized was constantly that the family is broken because it's matrifocal. The women are there, the men are not there. And I think we just continue to repeat that stereotype because a broken family is kind of a racialized notion or concept. So here we're tying fatherhood, family, and race and racial oppression into the mix. So it serves the purpose of keeping Black communities back when you kind of project this stereotype and this over present this idea that the families are broken, and the brokenness is usually tied to the fact that the men are not present. But then there are reasons why some men are not present. I mean, when Black men are being arrested disproportionately compared to the other parts of the demographics, who's going to raise the kids as fathers? Like, that part of the conversation they often overlook in like putting forward this thing like, they're just deadbeat dads. And a lot, just to go to the Caribbean, a lot of times mothers, because as Carter said, like lots of the relationships are outside of marriage, except for, church folks in the Caribbean, it's visiting relationships, and then the kids come and then the dad moves on. And even if the dad is supporting from a distance, the moms always use some negative language in the Caribbean. Oh, you're just like you're no good dad.
You're worthless. You're worthless.
You're worthless papa. Worthless father. So these are things that even if they don't really mean it deep down, it might come from an emotional place that the mom is missing the dad and wants a dad in her life, even though he's supporting from afar in the child's life. So some of that kind of feeds and put forward this idea that dads are nowhere to be found.
Yeah. So you have my mind going. So listen, like and share this post. This is worship. This is praise. This is great preaching, because we are talking about taking the word of God and allowing it to infiltrate our behavior, our thought process, because we cannot be the children or the sons and daughters of God if we are not willing to love our neighbor as ourselves, if we are not willing to love those whom we see every day. And we talked about role modeling. And as I was thinking about what Dr. Golston was saying, many times people can say stuff like, "You remind me of your father." Listen, you know what? And so as we grow up, if we hear those things, then we don't know what to become. If I can't be like him, then who do I pattern my life after? Then who is the example? Because we've been turned away by words and the expression of resentment based on intimate relationships that have nothing to do with parenting. And we have to be able to pull children back together with their fathers. This is not Mother's Day. We're talking about fathers today. Pull sons and daughters back with their fathers and really teach them how to love unconditionally and to positively frame, if we can take a negative situation and spin it and find something good. If I would say an absent dad that's providing, he's a provider. Why do I have to focus on the fact that he's absent? How about this? If my dad teaches me a great work ethic and I've never seen him a day in his life, even if I've never met him, if I don't know him, my dad taught me how to be present in my children's life because of his absence. I don't even have to mention his absence, but if I'm spiritual, if I'm rooted and grounded in God, I have to heal myself so that I can see the good. And we know that all things work together. We quote it, we shout it, we preach it. But now we have to know that all things, that even in my confusion growing up, even in my being torn from place to place, I found that it worked together. If I take any part of one of my three dads away from me, I cease to exist to be who I am. And that's what Deacon Grant said. And I'm going to throw it to you, Deke. How can you encourage people that if they reject their father, they're really rejecting themselves?
Yeah, that's absolutely the case, because you are your father. I mean, that's half of your DNA. That's he shapes your character, whether directly or indirectly. He shapes it. But I also want to go back to a couple of things you guys have said that my ears just was just going crazy. It's a beautiful conversation. And it goes back to this positive framing idea. Well, I was sitting back as you guys were talking, and I've never heard, and my mom is an amazing person, and so the women in my life, but I've never heard them use "you're just like your dad" in a positive way. Even I've never even heard my wife would say like, "you're just like your dad." Like this, like if for some reason, and I know she doesn't dislike me or CJ, but for some reason, I don't know. I heard the basketball player Kareem Abdul-Jabbar refer to racism as dust in the air. It's just everywhere. I wonder if this idea of just negative framing is just in the air, like it's just part of our DNA. It's like, why can't we not use it in a positive way? Why are we struggling to say you just like your dad, you're on time, you work hard, it's never, even though they know it, but they won't say it. They won't say it. They believe it, but they won't say it. But the negative rolls off the tongue so easily. And that's the issue. And it goes, and then I just to address what Dr. Golson said earlier about with the Daniel Patrick Moynihan report. That's what led to like the 1970s war on poverty and started locking up black men in disproportionately, because this idea that well, if we remove the father out the house, because his report talks about the lack of fathers back then, it was only 23% of households were dads was absent, and he called that a serious problem back then, right?
And 74%.
Yeah, back then he was like, that's a serious problem, and they wanted to address it by removing the fathers out of the house and having women go towards public assistance. I can't find the relationship between having your father out of the house and helping the family. I don't see why he has to leave, but they understood in that report that absent fathers lead to a destruction in a community, and I think that helped to bring forth the war on poverty, and which led to Nixon's and everybody else foot or whatever on our necks.
Yeah. So in my book, Transforming the Minds of Men, Maximizing Potential from Childhood to Manhood, I talk about the fact that when fathers are present, young people are less likely to commit suicide. They have better educational outcomes. They have healthier relationships. So we know that if we go back to the first report and we go back to now, and I released that book in 2015, that this is a ripple effect that causes an individual to self-destruct because they're not completely wired, because they've rejected a part of their makeup. And I mean, it's just like an electronic. If you try to function a computer without a charger, it will work as long as, but once the battery dies, if you no longer have a power source, and if we could just look at fatherhood as the power source that drives these children, then we would see the necessary involvement that should be facilitated from mothers, that should be facilitated from grandmothers. And there's so many reasons why fathers may be quote unquote absent. They may be in prison. They may have died. They may have left the house to be able to work in another city. They may just not even know that their child exists. They may have had a bad relationship with the mother. There are so many different pieces to that. And so I think that unfortunately, and I'll have to say this, and I'll take whatever slack that I get, women or those who are left with the children get to form the narrative. And if I'm a broken person that had a strange relationship, then will I say speak well of the person that I no longer like, that I no longer feel intimacy towards? The likelihood is that I won't. And that's what we see in this dust in the air that, people will say all the time, they just like you. No. Why are y'all accepting the negative part of me in them? That's the part you should be correcting. You don't accept the negative part. And I say this in my home about LJ and Logan. No, they won't do that. I shouldn't have done it, and I won't allow them to do it, and neither will you. Because if you accept that from them, then we're not holding them accountable to becoming the best that they can be. And that is a way to hold the knee on the neck of, within our own homes, communities, those fathers, and not allow the you're talented, you're gifted, you have good sense. And we don't hold, let's hold each other accountable to the right thing and not just spew the negative thing, because that's what people will pick up on. That's what people will hear. That's what people will remember. They won't remember how talented you were. They won't remember that you were always on time. They won't remember that you had a strong work ethic. They're going to remember that whatever somebody else said that was negative. Somebody could say, Deacon Grant, you sure look nice. But if your wife say, they're going to say, what's that? You ever been in a situation where somebody say something nice about you and then you watch other people looking around to see if they agree? We have to do better and we're talking about as people of God. If a man is holding a baby, look at him taking good care of that child. I'm glad he's doing something. It just rolls out. And we expect, and I think that we reject celebration. We reject appreciation because we're afraid that people will not agree with the fact that we're being celebrated. It's almost like, if you talk to fathers and say, what you want? And it's like, man, you know what? Whatever they do, I'm going to be happy. That ain't fair. That we have to think like, why are we thinking like that internally, Dr. Golson? Why?
Well, I mean, I think, I read a fascinating study that was based in Jamaica around 2013 about transformation of men when they became fathers. And what the research was doing was examining the emotional component that comes with fatherhood. But, there's something in us that, people who are more, experts in psychology and that stuff can talk about, where we tend to hide or hold back the emotive component of us. Like, we don't want to show emotions. So it's typical of a man to say, whatever they do is fine. I'm all right. It's good. I can't quite understand it. It's almost like a guarded response. Like, maybe deep down oh yeah, they should be taking me out. They should be buying me a new watch, a tire, get me an Audi or something. But, there's this guarded response to something that's worth celebrating. And I just wondering if part of it is the history of society beating up on our men, beating up on our fathers, why there's this kind of timidity to boldly and emotionally accept good things, and that good things can happen to men within our communities and to fathers. So I don't know, we're just guarded in certain respects.
We talked this morning, and Deacon Grant, I'm coming to you. How can you appreciate? There are people watching, and they want to know. Well, what they asked yesterday on our live, what do we do to appreciate fathers? How can we appreciate them? And you mentioned some great things this morning. I want you to share, and if something else comes to you, please.
You said what we could do to appreciate fathers?
What can people do to appreciate fathers?
Oh, what can people do to appreciate fathers? So like Dr. Golson said, culturally, and when he's talking, I'm thinking about our culture, Jamaica, for a second. But all three of us Jamaicans, right? So, I remember it's almost like men when I was growing up were, you couldn't cry, you couldn't ask for nothing, you couldn't. You couldn't show weakness, and I think a sign of weakness would be, complaining as a man. Like, we were required to work hard and, just, you're a man, take on that responsibility. And what are you complaining about? That's your lot in life, so to speak. And then in this country, I've noticed that then the shift becomes men just probably aren't sure where they are in terms of culturally what their responsibility is. I think growing up in Jamaica, it was almost a very defined thing about your role, and I think you get your value from operating in your role. So like you would get a value, I would understand in my culture as being a provider. You feel like a man when you're doing these things. In fact, you know, the community will somewhat celebrate you for that. It's almost not like you're a gunman or a bad boy or whatever the case might be, but you're a hardworking guy and I think you get that satisfaction from them. And I think you also get that satisfaction from the level of respect that you get in your community. I don't know if men sometimes know how to ask for things. Not even directions we don't ask for. Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
It's, you know what it is, Deke? It's almost like if you don't know, you're held accountable for that too.
Yeah,
You can't admit that you don't know.
Right. It's a sign of weakness. It's just a sign. I don't think it is, but somehow we were led to believe that I have to know everything. Like the world is on my shoulders. You know. So yeah, that's how I feel about that.
I mean, I think that's a powerful point because, part of what, I think, in celebrating Father's Day and celebrating men and fathers, we need to rethink how we force traditional roles onto people and, and kind of reshape this narrative of being emasculated because you do certain things. Because one of my very good friends, while his wife was in residency and through med school into residency, he stayed at home to take care of the kids. And, he's a brilliant guy, educated guy, a professor, but that he didn't feel it. He felt like this is my duty to my community, to my family, to be present and to raise positively and powerfully, smart Black kids. So he felt, but some men feel like, oh, if I'm not the one doing the 9 to 5 and the overtime, killing myself to provide for the family, I'm not doing enough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so sometimes some of our fathers, they work so hard and overtime too, getting poor health outcomes and so forth. And their presence is cut short in the family. So there has to be a balance here in terms of how you take on traditional roles, how do you let go of certain roles to really be there emotionally for your family as well.
Yeah.
So of course our time is running out, but let's take them to church for a minute. How does this relate to, we're using our main Sunday platform to talk about this. What is this? How is this rooted in spirituality and your relationship with God? Dr. Golson, can you help us with that?
Oh, tremendously. The New Testament presents, the image, not just only the image, but, the presence of Father as kind of a model for what our relationship with God should be like. In fact, Paul, being Paul, says that, if a man doesn't provide for his family or a man is not there to take care of the family, he's worse than an infidel, for example. Right? So I think, positive masculinity and positive fatherhood serve as a model for the relationship that we can have with our Abba Father in heaven.
Awesome.
Wow, that's well said. I tell the guy, so how I keep up with him. No, but
follow Abba, Father.
Yeah, Abba. But yes, and that's the thing. I think in our very first broadcast, Pastor, I'd said that, if you remember, I'm just so complex with this, with your roles. Like, I was talking to my son and about this, how dating have changed. I mean, now you swipe left and swipe right and all this. And I was like, just because he's a young man trying to explain to him, you got to no means no. Just be careful when you're dating. And to be honest, I just couldn't figure out what the rules are anymore because, you know, if you open a door for a woman, maybe you're devaluing her. If you, you know, I don't really. I'm being honest when I said, you know, sometimes the role in our society is so convoluted that I wonder how do we move from here? Like, you know, is it my place to define my role, or is that our community's responsibility to define my role? Because we're at a standstill, we're a fork in the road. You know, especially in our community, as we watch boys struggle with the idea that, you know, the criminal justice system is one, and then their manhood is another thing, and then trying to figure out what's the healthy balance, like Dr. Golson was saying, between work and home.
I think we've dedicated this conversation to not just be a one-time conversation. This is about our third or maybe even fourth conversation about fathers, fatherhood. We are not saying that we are against mothers. We're not against women. We are not against equality, equity. We as a church fight for civil rights, human rights, and social justice. But we're specifically talking about fatherhood and fathers and men because of this Father's Day season that we're in, and really trying to help those. And so I pray that as you listen to the conversation, you've listened to it in context, that it was wholesome for you, that it was able to allow you to challenge your thought process, your perspective. We don't expect that everyone will agree with us, but please know that our heart is to help bridge the gap between those who do not have existing relationships with their fathers, whom are still alive and accessible. You may need prayer today. We have a text prayer line. You can text our prayer counselors. You may need someone to pray with you, so you have the courage to call so that you won't operate in fear or rejection. Our prayer counselors are standing by. Area code 336-289-9211. And we want you to text our prayer counselors. They're more than willing to pray with you. If you want to give to our virtual ministry and you want to continue to see wholesome programming like this, just don't watch this one. Go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. Go to our Facebook page and watch the various programs. We have made tributes to mothers, and we're doing the best that we can with our production team. And so we've done some great things. So go ahead and give to us by Cash Apping $GNHBC. You can go to Givelify and search Greater New Hope Baptist Church in High Point, or you can give the old-fashioned way by mailing in your gifts to 906 Meredith Street in High Point, North Carolina. We still have a little part of this broadcast with a picture presentation. And so I just want to take the time to thank all of our production team. Deacon Grant has done a phenomenal job, and he even got our animation going today. That's the first time you've seen animation on a Sunday broadcast. So thank you, Deacon Grant. Pastor Freeman put together our picture montage. And then all of you that participated in your Father's Day tributes videos by submitting pictures. We included everyone that sent the picture. We included it. So please make sure that you continue to submit those things as we ask for them, because we want to make sure that we include you in what we're doing for fathers and mothers all across the world. So I pray that you've enjoyed our broadcast and that you will tune in again next week, same time, same place. Follow us on all of our social media platforms. And before we go, Dr. Golson, just give us a final closing word for this fatherhood segment.
Fathers ought to be celebrated today and many other days. And, you know, I think having a father present and active in an individual life is a transformative experience. And the fathers who are present and active, we celebrate them. Those who are distant, we hope that there can be reconciliation between children and fathers so that we can have healthy relationships and flourish together as families and communities.
Awesome. Dick, you got anything to say?
I agree completely with what everybody else is saying. Yeah, I strongly believe that, to be absent from your father or to be removed from your earthly father is a problem for you, that you think right now you're doing well, you're doing good, you're fine, everything is okay. But I'm thinking that there is more of an internal thing going on, and subconsciously you're passing that on for generations to come. So your legacy is going to be tainted with your dissatisfaction with someone that you can reconcile with. Like I said earlier, you don't have to love the person, but love is in the Greek would say that there's a whole bunch of different ways to say I love you and to show how much you love, because love is a very complicated word. So there's that love for you guys, then there's this love for my wife, love for my son. I use the word love interchangeably, but you understand that there's a different dynamics in the way I love my wife versus you. So you could choose to love right where you are just by simply loving your father for who he is. And he's a man of God. He's someone that God created in his very own image. And obviously there was some kind of a relationship between both parents that conceived you. So that ought to be celebrated, because that is part of your legacy. That is who you are.
Wow, that's powerful. This Wednesday in our Bible study, I'm going to talk about 1 John, and more specifically that verse that says, perfect love cast out fear. And if we go back to Deacon Grant's point, if you're not able to love, it's because you have not been able to perfect it in order for it to consume all of the things that won't allow you to do it. So when you love, you don't have fear. It doesn't mean that things will always go the way you want it to, but we'll talk about that. And then my final saying is this: whether you participate or not, your relationship with your father will shape your character. And so it just behooves us to be on the side of that character building that allows us to be active and involved. And we're going to come back again with more conversation, but at this time we're going to go to our presentation. So I pray you're having a great day, and we'll have even a greater week. God bless.
It must have been cold there in my shadow to never have sunlight on your face. You were content to let me shine. That's your way. You always walked a step behind. See, I was the one with all the glory, while you were the one with all the strength. Yes, you were. Only a face without a name. I never once heard you complain. No. Did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I would like to be. I could fly higher than an eagle. Yeah, yeah. 'Cause you are the wind beneath my wings. Yeah. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, but daddy, 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 I've got it all right here in my heart. Yes, I can say, and I want you to know, I know the truth. I know you know the truth about about it. You know the truth now. I would be nothing without you. Did you ever know you're my hero? Yeah, yeah. You're everything I would like to be. You're a part of me. You're a part of me. I could fly higher than an eagle. Cause you are the wind beneath the old man's wing. One more time. Yeah. You are the wind beneath my wing. My wing. So Daddy, I remember you up on the stage singing your song now. That's why I used to take you and your brothers on the road. I used to carry all along. But now I'm glad we can stand up and sing it together now. It's so good to see your dreams come true right here and right now, right now. It might have appeared to go unnoticed, no, it didn't, Daddy. But son, I've got it all right here.